What have we got for you? We have the Seven of Vessels, the Page of Vessels, and the Seven of Stones. Yeah, I think you've been going through a bit of a grotty time, actually. There's things that, as you're coming into this week, there are things that have possibly been upsetting you. There are things that you maybe have been forced to let go of, things that you haven't really wanted to leave behind. But I think this is all happening for a reason. You know, these are things that aren't really that productive for you anymore. It's things that you've been clinging on to, things that maybe should have been let go a while ago, and that this is a difficult process for you. I think you're struggling with it a little bit, but you are moving into a better phase. You're moving on and being able to, I think for the first time in a long time, acknowledge what you actually want. You know, what are your hopes, your dreams, your fears? What is it that drives you? What motivates you? I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of energy going on this week. You're going to be really analysing and thinking about what you want, and you need to be following those dreams. You need to be working on those, because even if you're only taking the tiniest little steps towards them, but I think that the whole thing is quite a healing process for you. You know, this struggle and this loss and this letting go has been really draining you, and you have got to take the time to recover from that. You can't go through any kind of major upheaval or loss without processing what you've been through. You can try, you can carry on for a while, but at some point it's going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. So the sooner you deal with that, the better. And this is something I think you need to be doing this week. It's all about your emotions this week and how you're feeling about things and what you feel you want out of your life in the future. And just taking the time to you know, sit down, think about things, absorb all this information, and that's really going to help. I think you're going to feel in a much better place by the end of the week, a much better place. You have been finding it all very difficult. I think you've been very critical of yourself, of others around you, of the situation, and these negative energies have really been blocking you. You've been through hell, to be honest. You've had a lot to deal with, possibly to do with relationships, because we've got a lot of emotion here, and there's a real sense of unfairness and people treating you badly. I think maybe people sort of moving on and leaving you behind. I'm getting a feeling of that. You know, it's like everybody else is running ahead and you're still stuck. It's stuck dealing with all this, and it's a really scattered kind of energy, and that's what needs to stop. It's got to calm down. You need to take some time, find some space, and just absorb everything you've been through, analyse it, look at it, think about it, and then let it go and start thinking about the more positive things in your life, because that's the process of recovery. That's how you get through these things. And as you do that, you know, you're heading into health, happiness, enlightenment, enjoyment, sunshine. You know, there's a lot of good energy here in this card, and this is all attached to this one here about rest, recuperation, healing. But you've got to deal with all this here. You can't just sweep it under the carpet. You've got to deal with it. You've got to process your emotions around that, or you're never going to get here. So you've got a big task on your plate this week. I don't envy you, but the ultimate outcome of it is positive. If you do this, if you take that time to work through it, you'll feel a lot better for it, I promise. Now then, we've got Leo next. What are you up to, Leo? We've got the Wanderer, the Two of Vessels, and the Green Woman. Ooh. I kind of like the look of your week, Leo. You're really heading into a new phase here, but it's a new phase full of love and energy and growth and fertility and all those positive things. This is all coming together, but you're bringing this about because you're willing to take a chance. You're stepping out into the unknown. You're maybe stepping a little bit out of your comfort zone. And that's bringing all this positive energy in. Yeah, there is so much here that is all about growth and regeneration and cleansing and fertility and some really positive stuff here. You know, you're moving away from the past here. I think you're setting out on something new. I think for a lot of you, this is maybe a new relationship or taking a relationship to another level. You're moving away into something quite new. I think there'll be a few of you this week that are moving into new phases of relationships. Now, that's not always a romantic relationship. It could be a relationship with anyone, relationships with family, friends, colleagues. It could even be your relationship with yourself. You know, you can have your dog. You can have a relationship, you know, with everything around us. But this is stepping up a gear. This is all moving on to a whole new level. That it's a very, very cleansing process. You're taking a lot of positive energy and happy thoughts and memories into the future with you as we go into this week. You know, there's maybe connections and renewals of connections here. So this relationship here could be with someone that you've known in the past, but it's something that's bringing about a lot of fertile energy. There is potential here. There's so much potential. It's really kind of exploding out from the cards, and this whole week almost seems to glow with it. I'm quite envious, actually. This is really nice. There's opportunities here. And I think these opportunities are to do with your connections with others, and things you can do together, build together. There's an energy here towards creating something new for you. It's a step forward in a relationship. It's a new relationship. It's taking things onto a new stage. You know, this is all the kind of energy here is what I would associate with maybe a new relationship or a proposal or starting a family. It's all that kind of energy that's coming out here, and this is all surrounding you. And other than saying, wow, this is amazing, I kind of feel like I don't want to say too much to you because I don't want to spoil the surprise. There's all this really positive stuff going on, and yeah, I think you've got a really good week ahead. Do tell me. I want all the gossip. I want to know what's happening. Right, so I'm going to take a look now at Sagittarius, and you know, you've got to go some Sagittarius to beat that last one. So let's see, what have we got coming up for you? Oops. Right, we've got the Mirror, we've got the Blasted Oak, and we've got the Three of Vessels. So yeah, there's changes and upheaval here, and I think it's taking you in a good direction. Although I kind of feel like it's a situation you've got no control over. It's very much that you've got to go with the flow on this. It's kind of like, okay, just get on with it. You know, I give up. Just take me through it. There's some real, I don't know. You've got quite a conflict going on, I think, and I think at the moment there's a lot of confusion surrounding you. You're finding things difficult to make sense of. You know, on the one hand, you've got things that are quite bright and positive and centered and settled, and then you've got these big shifts, this upheaval, separation, loss, lethargy, contempt, all those are mixed in with it. And it's like, I kind of feel like there is so much going on in your life at the moment that you just can't make head nor tails of it. There is such a lot of confusion here. And I think a fair amount of upheaval. I think we're seeing endings, but they're endings of things that maybe you haven't been happy with for a long time. I think you're being encouraged to let go of stuff, to stop hanging on to things that are making you miserable. There seems to be this need for safety and security, somewhere you feel centered and grounded and safe. And I think that's a natural reaction to all this chaos and upheaval we've got going on here. This week is kind of a week that you've got to get through. You know, it's just keep plodding on, keep dealing with it. But bear in mind that no matter how bad things seem, and I do think you've got a lot to tackle this week. There's a sense of things coming at you quite thick and fast. But actually, I don't think they're as bad as they appear on the surface. They may sort of seem that way to you. It may seem like this is quite traumatic. But actually, some of these problems, they're not as big as you anticipate. And the things that are, it's a necessary process. It's kind of, it's clearing out the stuff that isn't really productive, the things that, the relationships that don't work, the job that makes you miserable. That seems to be almost overtaking your life at the moment. This tangle of stuff that really isn't quite working. And if something that isn't working suddenly all seems to go wrong, well, is that a bad thing? No, I'm not sure it is. Maybe it's clearing out of all the rubbish, that you're just letting go of things that just aren't really doing you any good at the moment. And I kind of think, as bad and as difficult as things might seem this week, you're kind of a willing participant in it, or if not a participant, you're not going to fight against it. You're not going to struggle, because you know deep down, you know you've got to move on. You know these things aren't working for you. and you're looking for happiness. The people you need around you are the people that think the way you do, that think, that care about you, that have mutual beliefs. They're the ones you need to be surrounding yourself with. I think everyone else you can kind of walk away from with confidence, knowing that you're not really losing anything in the long run. And I think that process of doing that will make you feel a lot safer and a lot more secure. And I'm hoping by the time we see you next week that we'll be seeing something that's a little bit more settled, because there's a lot of chaos and confusion for you this week, but there's a positive conclusion to it. You'll be feeling better by the end of the week. Now, we're going to have a look now at Cancer. So, what has Cancer got in store? We've got the Great Bear and the Seer and the Page of Arrows. I think you've been dealing with some quite big issues. I kind of think they're behind you. I think that you're coming out of what appears to have been quite a difficult phase, where you've maybe had to be quite strong and forceful, and maybe doing things that you wouldn't normally want to do, things that are little bit out of character for you. You've been having to be quite stern and strict and kind of laying down the law a bit, I think. But I sense you're moving out of that phase now. So I think whatever you've been dealing with, you're coming to the end of that. You're ready to kind of move on, and I think you there's a feeling that you can kind of relax a little bit now, and I think you need to, because it's almost like you need to let your emotions take over a bit now. I think your mind has been very much in control. You've had things to deal with where you've had to be on the ball 100%, paying attention and dealing with all those tiny little details. And now I think you need a rest from that. You need to maybe step back and now start to think, okay, I dealt with that. I did everything I need to do. How do I feel about it? And once you've worked out how you feel about it, how do I go about taking the next step? What is the next step? Is there any way I can come out of this without sort of feeling absolutely exhausted and drained and angry? Because I do think that's a lot of the energy you've been bringing into this week. And I think this is a process that you're going to go through quite happily. I think you've kind of reached almost that phase where you're sort of burnt out. You've got no choice now but to sit down and rest and just deal with how you feel about it. What's the inner you telling you need to be doing next? Yeah, there's endings here. And I think it's the ending of something that's been quite painful, that you've really struggled with, and you've tried to cope with it by letting your head take over. You've been dealing with things in a very pragmatic way, and that's fine. That's got you through it. It's helped you deal with the whole process. But it's time to move on from that now. It's time to let go, to change all that, to to move into a new phase, because you can't keep going the way you are doing. You need to create some kind of balance between your head and your heart. You've got to let your emotions have a say. And I think if you don't start doing that, you're going to be made to do it. There's something coming in here. There's an energy there that is basically saying, look, if you don't do this yourself, we're going to knock you off your feet and make you do it. You're letting go of something. You know, you've got to let go of whatever it is that's been. It's not just letting go, though. That's the thing. It's acknowledging how it's all made you feel, and I think that's what you've not been doing. You've dealt with the practical stuff. You've dealt with a big situation here, and you haven't let your emotions have any say whatsoever. And I think this is kind of what you're being told here. You know, there's been changes, there's been things you've lost, there's been people you've left behind on the way, and you need to start to just give some time to the thoughts about that. How do you feel about it? You know, you don't have to wallow in self-pity. I'm not suggesting that, but you need to sort of let your emotions come to the fore for a little while. And I think that might actually help you with ideas about what to do next. You've got this kind of ingenious streak. If you let your heart, if you let your spirit, that inner you, speak, there's almost no heights you can't rise to. But you seem determined, or you have been recently, to keep your feet firmly anchored on the ground and not let anything else in. And it's time for that to change. It's time for you to really sort of let your feelings out to play for a bit. So now we're doing... What are we doing now? Is it Scorpio now? Or have I done Scorpio? I've completely lost track. Have I done Scorpio? No, I think I just did Cancer. Scorpio's next. Either that or you're going to get it twice. You can tell I'm tired, can't you? And I really don't know now whether I'm doing Scorpio for the first time or whether I'm doing Scorpio for the second. Do I miss Scorpio out? Interesting. This is fun. Okay, what have we got coming up here? We've got the Page of Bows, we've got the Ace of Arrows, and the Queen of Bows. Yeah, there's changes here. There's ideas. There's fresh, new, interesting, quite creative ideas coming to the fore here, that are bringing about sort of a real sense of hope and positivity and success. There's a whole cycle here that's sort of coming to an end. You're coming out of one phase. You're coming out of a phase of your life, and you're tackling it with a little bit of ingenuity, or you will be if you let yourself. You've got this kind of inspiration here. There's quite a passion for something if you'll let yourself feel it. I'm kind of feeling like it's almost like you're trying to resist it. And I want to say, no, go for it, because you know there is a lot of positivity and creativity here that if you let yourself, you could be building something that is going to take you into the future with quite a solid footing, but letting you sort of reach for the stars at the same time. You know, you've got this creative energy backed up with this desire for success, but it's still all grounded in something that is really solid and productive. This may well be connected to home, family, security. It's a new idea to do with home, I think. Maybe you're thinking about possibly moving or making changes, but there's this new energy, but it's at the same time it is anchored in something really solid and dependable. But it's coming about from this real sense of ingenuity. It's like you've suddenly had this light bulb moment, and everything that didn't make sense before, all of a sudden you're thinking, well, why have I been doing it that way when I could have done this? It's almost like everything is suddenly starting to fall in place. You're starting to get answers. It's like you've had this big blockage where you haven't let ideas through, you haven't let feelings through. And now, if you're prepared to relax and let that emotion, that feeling, that ingenuity come through, it really could run away with you. You know, you kind of got this roller coaster of events here, this excitement of new ideas and new beginnings, but they're built on something solid. You know, whatever you decide to do this week, whatever changes you want to make, because I think there are changes coming here. It's kind of a subtle movement. It's not like, I don't feel it's change in a kind of destructive, that's all falling apart, moving on to something new. It's not that. It's kind of a natural progression, a growth of things you've already got that are coming to the fore if you let yourself. There is this sense of a blockage, and I'm not really sure where that's coming from because it's not actually showing in the cards too much, but I'm getting a really strong feeling that there's been this block. It's as though you haven't let yourself move forward, and now all of a sudden you're thinking, what on earth is wrong with me? Why didn't I see that? And once you accept that, once you realise, once you make that connection, then things are going to start falling into place for you. And now we have got Pisces. So what's happening with you, Pisces? What has the week ahead of you got in store? Let's have a look. Right, we've got the Ancestor, we've got the Two of Stones, and we've got the Seven of Arrows. What are you worrying about, Pisces? There's something on your mind, I know that much. There's things going on around you that are really getting you down, and you kind of feel like you know what you want to do, you know what your focus is, you know what you should be doing, and you're feeling like there's all these obstacles in the way, and I'm not really quite sure why, because there's nothing here that says there's any real obstacle other than what's happening in your head. You may be facing challenges, there are things you've got to deal with. You know, there may well be a bit of a battle with someone where you want one thing and they want something different, that you've got to sort it out. But it's nothing that's insurmountable, and you know, you're going to come out on top of this, I think. You know, any arguments you've got with someone, you know, you're the one on solid ground, not them. And yet you're feeling like the rug's really been pulled out from under you. You're feeling as though everything is going wrong, that you're being attacked on every level. And as far as I can see at the moment, that's not the case at all. you've got a real strength and determination here. I think you're exhausted, to be honest. I think what the thing is, you've had so much going on, and you've been having to deal with all these events, and it's not that you couldn't deal with them, it's not that you weren't strong enough to deal with them, because you blooming well were. But I think you've been dealing with issues for such a long time now that although you're determined and you're focused and you know what you want to be doing, it's just bogged you down. It's too much. You're fed up of arguing. You're fed up of having to challenge people. You're fed up of having to fight to get what you want all the time. And you are absolutely physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. And that's where a lot of your worries are coming from. You are that tired and worn down by it all that you're building things up, you're making things seem much bigger than they are. The littlest niggly little problems you're blowing way out of proportion, because you've been dealing with stuff for so long now that you're just too exhausted to cope with things. Things that 6 months ago might have seemed nothing now suddenly seem like this big obstacle that you've got to deal with, and I don't really see that's the case. You've got strength and determination. You've got your focus. You've got that focus. You've got people behind you supporting you. You've got strength, and yet you feel like you're doing everything on your own, and that's not the case. You're coming from a powerful position, which makes me think that you are either absolutely 100% in the right about something, or that you've got people behind you supporting you. You're coming from this position of strength, and you can't see that at the moment. You're just so worn out that you can't really deal with what's going on. The tiniest little thing gets you down, and you're feeling really sort of deflated and defeated, and as though the whole world is against you, and that really isn't the case. There's a bit of a warning here to rein in your temper, because I think you may well lash out at people this week, because you're seeing all these challenges, and what might under normal circumstances have just been a discussion has the potential to turn into some full-blown row, because you're just bogged down with everything else and everything seems bigger than it really is. So, try and keep a grip on your emotions. Don't